everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't want to fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, we have been born again. Good day, good evening, and whatever time it is where you are, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Huff. This is David Van Risgum, and we are your host and co-host and whatever host you want us to be on whatever day you want it to be, whatever day you're watching or listening to this program. This is Fresh Black Coffee to freshen your day, and we like to discuss the news of the day and week and whenever. And Dave, how are you today?
Good, and Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you again. Another new year. Actually, I guess last week was what? The New Year's Eve, correct?
Yeah,
it was new. That's right. On New Year's Eve. That's right.
Wrapped up 22, and now we're looking forward to 23.
You know, it's weird. This was a weird New Year's Eve. It was it really went out with a whimper. It wasn't any, at my house, all of a sudden I heard some fireworks at night, and I was trying to say, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? It just seemed really odd and awkward. So
we're old farts now. That's what it is.
Speak for yourself, you old gas passer. That's another way of saying it.
Let me root sound.
Oh,
what is that going on outside?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Wow. 2023, 2023. A new year, new hopes, new dreams. And we have a lot to talk about, particularly politically coming up later. But to wrap up some of last year, things that happened, sports-wise, the bowl season is almost over, not quite.
One game.
I guess one game left, huh? And that is the national championship, which is somewhat, there's one big surprise, and that big surprise is the Big 12.
Yeah.
Is it TCU ended up beating Michigan, which was everybody's surprise. It's interesting, though, because in the Texas Tech Mississippi game, the announcer actually picked TCU to beat Michigan, and the co-announcer, the colored color man, it's Andre Ware. It was Andre Ware, who is a former, I think he won the Heisman Trophy that year. I'm not sure. He went to the University of Houston. He was the National Passer of the Year. Great quarterback at the University of Houston. But he actually made his career as a color analyst for the various sports networks. He's great. I mean, he's really, to me, one of the best. He's low-key. He's right there. He's knowledgeable. But Andre Ware, when the announcer said, I'm picking TCU to beat Michigan, Andre said, you're on your own, buddy. You're on your own. He did not have the confidence that TCU could beat Michigan. Yeah. And the guy was right.
It kind of reminds me of the Bob Stoops team in the fall of '99. Who would have picked him for the championship, because
they didn't win in '99. It was like a year or two later. It was 99 is the year, the first year that they had a winning season, but they did not win a national championship.
Right. There. Okay, so it was 2000 because the bowl game was 2001.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it was 2000.
Yeah,
right,
you're right. You're right. So, but and I gotta hand it to TCU. I think largely you gotta say the coach made the difference.
Yeah, Sonny Dykes. It's interesting. The son of the Texas Tech legendary coach Spike Dykes.
Always Italian.
I'm just saying who his dad was.
Okay.
His dad was the winningest coach at Texas Tech and a legend there. Very beloved coach at Tech.
Yeah.
Spike Dykes. How can you lose with a name like that? Spike Dykes, Anyway, and Sonny actually was a student there under Mike Leach and played played a little bit, and then he ended up becoming a student assistant under Mike Leach, and one of the many in the Leach tree of coaches. But I just hated one of my fraternity brothers from there. He had been pushing for Spike Dykes to become the coach at Tech for years, for a long time, and it never happened. And it should have happened. But it's funny, the timing never worked out right. Like each time it was time that Tech needed a new coach, Spike had just been hired by Cal, or I think La Tech, Louisiana Tech University. And each time it was just like, and this time it was TCU got him just before we hired our new coach. So it's kind of fun, but it is interesting that out of the Big 12, we had, I think it was 6 or 7 teams that were bowl eligible this year. And out of those 6 or 7 teams, only 2 teams won their bowl games. And those are the 2 teams and TCU.
I gotta hand it to OU. They didn't win, but they were up against a tough number 13 ranked Florida State, playing in Florida, and they played them right to the end. And they played above my expectations. OU did.
Really? I expect them to win. My expectations are always for my teams to win. No, I will tell you what I see as OU's downfall. And that is when they got rid of Gundy. You could see that if you go back, OU was undefeated until Cale Gundy was quituated, fired, whatever you want to call it. And it was stupidity on the team's part. And I believe that was the turning point of their season right there.
That was preseason. That was like
no. They were already into the season.
Oh, I thought
no. There's no preseason in college football.
Well, not preseason. I thought it was right before the first game.
No, I don't think so. I think it was like around the 3rd or 4th game. I can't remember exactly when, but I remember they immediately lost right after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I think the quarterback got injured or something, and then but it's all of a sudden they were out of sync. They just couldn't get it together. And they would run up these big first half scores. Remember? They would get like a 14, 21 point lead, and then all of a sudden they'd fall apart. They couldn't score again. The other defense got their number and they were done. So, I mean, I don't know if it was a spiritual, mental thing, whatever it was, but for some reason they ended up 6-6. And the usual OU, 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 at the outside, and this year 6-6. My goodness, they haven't played like that since before Bob Stoops, the pre-Bob Stoops era. This is really a shock.
Yeah.
And
it reminded me of Gary Gibbs. He came right after Switzer, and he still had a winning record. Not great, but they fired him anyway.
What was the guy before Stoops, though? He was the black coach they had for a little while. No, Levy Smith's the basketball coach.
That's right. And,
I can't remember his name. That's probably how bad he was that he's forgotten.
Trying to remember that, but
But he had a really horrendous record. Horrendous. It was just terrible. It was like, oh my goodness, And then Bob came along, and Bob had one of the in '99 though, when they were on their comeback year. That first year, he had probably one of the greatest staffs because he had not only Leach on there, but he had Mangino that ended up leaving also to go to KU. he stayed another year, but then he went to Kansas and took Kansas to the top. I think they were number 1 in the nation for 1 week until either OSU or Iowa State. Iowa State is always the giant killer. You know, they're the guys that'll mess up every team, you know, that's trying to, but, Mangino and then Chuck Mangino. I'm thinking Chuck Mangione. Coach Mangino, excuse me. Coach Mangino, got fired.
Yeah.
And then KU just, they went to the bottom until they're coming back now. But Mangino and Leach both got fired the same year, and both of those programs took a dive after that. But just to think you had Mangino and Leach, two real crazy out there personalities. In fact, I heard some wild stories about their coaches' meetings. In fact, they would sit on other sides of the table, and I heard stories that Mangino was trying to jump over the table to get at Leach to attack, and other coaches are pulling him off the table to keep him from attacking, because Leach knew just what to say to push his button. And Mangino couldn't control it. He was trying to go after him, and they're separating these two. And I can imagine Bob just sitting there going, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? But both of these guys were so good at what they did. Sometimes that happens. You take the good with the bad, right?
Now, I remember I guess this would be 96, my state senator took the TU Hurricane down to Norman and beat OU.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I went to UB.
That was the height of humiliation.
I remember that.
And in fact, remember when Pat Jones had a winless season. I remember they had a ceremony at the end where they were burying the season. It's called 10-1. Oh, 10-1. Oh, because they had one tie.
Oh, Tannenbaum. 10-1. But yeah.
And Pat, a year later, they fired him and he went into broadcast.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Pat, he was funny. He was a funny guy on the air. But no, that was those are some good memories though in those days.
What is it about the Big 12 that attracts very colorful coaches like Billy Tubbs? You know, Bobby Knight even came to your alma mater when Indiana had their bill of him. And to be honest, Bobby Knight actually turned the Texas Tech basketball program around and was the start of a resurgence there. Yeah, I mean, and he and Leach were good friends. They got along really well, you know, because they're both nuts. There's a story going around where about OU. There's an OU story when Leach was there at a Texas OU game, or OU Texas they call it here. But anyway, where what Leach did, he drew up a whole set of fake plays. Have you heard this story? Yes, it's true. It's a true story. So Leach designed a whole set of fake plays. And so he had one of the players, I can't remember who it was, but one of the OU players had the set of the plays, and he told him like to go out. I think it was a tight end, and he had him run by the Texas bench, and you know the plays happened to fall out of his pants, and they fell over on the Texas sideline. And so one of the Texas managers happened to see them and picked them up and took them back. Yeah.
And so these were plays. And so they would line up. The lineup was the same, the positions and everything, but they ran them exactly the opposite of the way they were diagramming. So Texas was expecting every time they saw them line up, they were expecting those. Yeah. And so I think OU scored like 21 points like in the first quarter against Texas on these fake plays. Yeah. And but Texas still ended up winning. But it was just kind of a funny thing. And Bob didn't know anything about it. Oh. No, it was just between Leach and his assistants, and so but he would do crazy stuff like that just to see that, and it worked.
That leads me to suspect. You remember that national championship game 2001 against Bobby Bowden,
Florida State,
right? And I'm name dropping here. My third cousin Chris Winkie won the Heisman, but Heifeld ended up winning the championship game. You remember the broadcasters would cut to Bobby Bowden. You could see expression of his face. Like he had no idea what was going on. I wonder if we weren't messing with his head with stuff.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. Maybe they learned from him. I did watch they had the Mike Leach Memorial on ESPN
he passed away last
Plus. A couple of weeks ago.
A lot of people last year.
Yeah, but they had the memorial, and the best speech given at the memorial was from Bob Stoops. He was there, and it was a very, very touching. I mean, it was great. Bob really did a great job. I have to say, Bob really spoke well in the stories he told. But there were so many coaches and people there. And the other thing that was interesting, all of these coaches, Wake Forest, Houston, different coaches all around the country were wearing these state shirts under their others. Houston, actually, their coach, who owes everything to Mike, he just wore a state T-shirt out there and or sweatshirt, but most, even the Tech coach and a lot of them had a pirate patch. Texas Tech had a pirate emblem on their helmets, and different. Mississippi State, of course, they've erected a statue of Mike Leach now. I mean, he was only there. This was his third year, and now they've erected a statue to him outside of their stadium. So his reach is very deep in college football, and a lot of people have been affected because there are so many coaches out there that he has spawned and programs that he has affected throughout the country.
I want to ask you something. You've seen it, you even mentioned it earlier, about coaches who are the son of a coach, right?
Spike Dykes and Sonny Dykes at TCU. That's how we got started on this. Sonny Dykes is actually the son of the late Spike Dykes, who is now playing for the national championship. Great coach, great guy.
One of the great coaches that we only had in Tulsa for a couple of years coaching at TU was Steve Craigthorpe. And a couple of years ago, I was doing some work at his house and talking to him, and I asked him, how's your son Brad doing? Because my son had played football with his son. So, he's coaching and on coaching staffs. And Steve said his father was a pro coach. Steve, Tulsa recruited him from Buffalo. And you got 3 generations. It seems to me, I've often said this, as an entrepreneur, business owner, you learn it growing up in the home of an entrepreneur. If your parents punched a time clock, you're likely to punch a time clock. Coaching, if you grow up in a coach's home, you're far more likely to go into coaching.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Nevertheless, it seems that the greatest coaches just come out of nowhere.
I would agree with that. You look at Homer Drew up there, Valparaiso, which is ORU's big rival for a long time. His 2 sons played for him and now took Baylor to national championship, one of the Drew boys. They can become good. But the brother of a coach, Mike Stoops, not so much.
Well, he's got another one at Kentucky.
Who's doing better, right?
Yeah, he's doing a little better, but he's been there a long time and never can seem to crest the peak.
Yeah,
right.
Says, OU was riding high, doing very well, and then all of a sudden, we lose our defensive coordinator.
Who is now the coach?
Now our head coach. Yeah, I went to Clemson. And who fills in? Mike Stoops.
Right.
You know, actually, Mike Stoops had been here before, got a gig at Arizona, blew it, got fired, and then came back here.
Right.
And then finally, Bob had to fire. No, or was it Lincoln? Yeah, Lincoln fired.
Well, it was when Bob retired, right? When Bob finally quit.
But you're right. Say Lincoln Riley. He's a prodigy. A guy not coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, and now Lincoln's brother actually is the offensive coordinator at TCU.
Oh, I did not.
Yeah, he's the assistant. He's the offensive coordinator.
Caught up.
Right.
On college.
Well, yeah. But again, just there's so many, like, for example, the young Turks, we will call them. Miami has a young coach, who's doing great. He's taking Miami back. It's going to take him a little while, but they're coming. You've got, them. You've got, where's another one where there's a real, San Diego, and I will never not be able to call them the San Diego Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers, okay? They've got this young coach who also is doing a great job. I mean, to me, they look like they ought to still be in school. These guys, they've got a young coach, and these guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
They're as Muhammad Ali used to say, they're contenders.
Yeah.
They're contenders. But, you know, so, you have a few, examples, you know, that of coaches' sons that are pretty good. San Francisco's coach, you know, but generally coaches' sons, they do well, but they never seem to really just be able to totally hit the peak. Yeah. And I don't know what it is, but, you know, something always short circuits it when these young guys come out of nowhere and maybe they have to work a little harder, strive a little harder. Something about it seems to make these guys come out of nowhere and do it. I don't know, but
yeah, I you know, when Bob Stoops was hired in, what was it, 98, 99, everyone, who's Bob Stoops?
Yeah.
You know, and I think the son of a coach who goes into coaching is always a little bit under his dad's shadows. I think of Wade Phillips. To me, there was a Bum Phillips. He was perfect for the Houston Oilers. Mm-hmm. I remember for years they were lousy. And then they get to the championship game and they lose it, you know, not the Super Bowl, but to get in it.
Playoff.
And they have a rally at the Houston Astrodome. He says, last year we knocked on the door. This year we beat on the door. Next year we're going to beat the dog, you know, colorful word insert, door down. And, you know,
never did quite do it.
Yeah.
But
now,
no.
Schnellenberger was too big for his britches. Very colorful character, had, a one and done at OU. We had to get rid of him. I think he had an alcohol issue.
Yeah. But no, it's coaching is an interesting, deal and we have to, you know, but it takes a certain breed, certain person to be able to do it. So
it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. Well, listen, but anyway, just to bring everyone up to date, TCU did beat Michigan and then, Georgia ended up beating Ohio State. So the Big Ten is gone, and it's now the Big 12 versus the SEC. And, which is kind of a surprise. The SEC is not as much of a surprise, although, most of the people were expecting it to be probably Georgia versus, Michigan. And, one thing I do have to say though, I give it to you, if you'll let me know, I can.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have to give it to the quarterback of Ohio State. Afterwards, in the loss, in the face of defeat, he gave all glory and praise to his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, where most people he could have just been a disgruntled, upset, and so forth. He still was able to give glory and praise to Jesus Christ. It gives me goosebumps to hear it, because you hear people giving glory and praise to Jesus and to God in victory.
When things are going
right.
Oh, you want to hit back.
Okay. And this,
There you go.
he did it in the face of defeat.
Yep.
He did it in the face of defeat. Mm-hmm. So it was really, it was refreshing. I have to be honest, I have not been an Ohio State fan for many years. And the main reason is it's not Ohio State. I do not like Alabama because of Nick Saban or Alabama. Because strangely, I always end up liking Alabama players, which is really crazy. Sure. But the reason I don't like Alabama or Ohio State is because of the sports media. Mm-hmm. They have played so loose with them and always pumping them up and doing things with it. The SEC, the whole conference. Yep. And the way they treat the Big 12 and the Pac-12 in particular, both of those, the Pac-12 and the Big 12, it's almost like they're not there.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Growing up in Minnesota and the Big Ten media being so full of themselves, there was always Ohio State, Michigan, and then the also-rans, right? If Michigan would have won and Ohio State would have won, I couldn't have stomached what I'd be hearing.
Yeah, it's true.
Because, and that is a storied rivalry, because they would always fight to the rights to go to the Rose Bowl.
In the SEC, essentially, you've got 4 teams. Mm-hmm. 4 teams. That's it. You've got Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. After that. Yeah,
well, Tennessee now is having a good year, but it had bad.
But you remember the Manning years. Mm-hmm. You remember when Manning was there, and even just before and after. Tennessee was
That's 20-some years ago.
Yeah, I know, but still, they still remember the Tennessee. Yeah. They still pump Tennessee up. Yeah. But after that, those teams are dogs.
See, I would have said Florida Gators.
Yeah, they try to, what I'm saying is they try to pump them up.
Yeah.
But they're just not there.
Yeah.
Those teams are just not that good. Mm-hmm. And, in fact, the Big 12 had a horrible, horrible bowl season. Mm-hmm. Two teams, Texas Tech, Texas Christian, are the only 2 victorious in the out of all of the teams that went to the bowls. Yep. Baylor, the KSU, Kansas State, West Virginia.
OU, OSU.
OSU. Yeah. That's 7 teams basically. All of them lost. Yeah. All of them lost. So it's horrible. But the SEC didn't do much. I think the SEC had 3 victories. Yeah. 3. Well, if you count Georgia, then that gives them 4. And they had 8 teams in there. So, it's not, those 2 conferences did not really do, but they'll never let you know how poorly the SEC did. Actually, the conference that did the best is the AAC, the American Athletic Conference.
Well, yeah.
Which is
Houston, Cincinnati, is it?
Who's the ones that beat, Southern Cal?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I forget now too.
Right, 2 of those teams are coming into the Big 12.
Yeah.
Houston and Cincinnati.
Right. Houston, Cincinnati. In Central Florida too.
Yeah, that's right. They made the jump. They used to be in Conference USA. Right. And didn't Josh Heupel coach them?
Well, he's at Tennessee now.
He is now, but he was
at Central Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
Took him to undefeated.
Right. But then, you take the team. Oh, how can I not remember who in the heck it is that beat Tulane?
Okay.
It was Tulane that beat Southern Cal, which was kind of a real shocker, you know. And everyone wants to, in fact, I got into this thing on Facebook a little bit. The OU fans want to hate on, of course, the defectors, right? The quarterback and, of course, the coach.
Oh, Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Caleb Williams and
Lincoln
Riley. They want to dump on them. But, hey, you know, you can't do that.
No.
You know, they sought to better themselves. They did not want to go to the SEC. So why, you know, this kind of disappoints me and upsets me about OU fans to an extent. Yeah. If they do the same thing to another school.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we got this great coach. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. You know, somebody does it to them. They're dogs. You know, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Look at Lincoln Riley. What college coach gets, as part of his contract, unlimited use of a private jet?
Yeah.
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 My goodness.
Who's going to say no to that?
Yes.
And he did not want to go to the SEC. He let it know he did not want to go to the SEC. So, you know, those are two things. Even most OU fans did not want to go to the SEC. Mm-hmm. But whoever the powers to be at Texas and at OU decided we want to go to the SEC. So, you know, I mean, think of that. Think of the people in the Big 12 who feel betrayed and stabbed in the back by you quietly negotiating that to leave them to go to the SEC. They feel betrayed. Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. But, okay, you're gone. You know, okay, you made that decision. You're gone. Nobody said anything. Okay. You know, be happy. So for you to be upset and want to start disparaging Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley for going elsewhere, I don't think that's fair. That's not right.
And I got a big reminder of this 2 weeks ago today. I'm up there and just outside of Minneapolis, stopped at a restaurant, you know, going to see my mother. And the place was full of Vikings fans that just left the game. And they're all excited because we had that 61-yard kick as time expired to win it. And I'm talking to this one family, and they drove up from Nebraska to go to the game. The Vikings have a pretty good reach into the Plain States.
Yeah, because there's nothing out there.
Yeah, and so I you know, when he said Nebraska, I said, man, I miss those old OU-Nebraska rivalry games. He says, yeah, so do I. And I said, is there any chance Nebraska would ever come back from that move to the Big Ten? He said, no, the money's too good. And I said, yeah, I don't understand it. Most of us didn't understand just the dynamics of Texas doing their own Longhorn Network TV deal. He said that's when Nebraska left, when Texas stabbed everybody.
The Longhorn Network, yeah.
And because Nebraska left, Colorado left, Missouri left.
Right.
It just was devastating.
Yeah.
And so, what do you do? That's how much one team can destroy a whole conference.
Colorado left too, remember?
Yeah, I'd say, let's see, Colorado
went to the Pac-12.
We lost 4.
Yeah.
So who do we, was it A&M? Texas?
No, Colorado, A&M had left before.
That's
A&M had gone, but Colorado left. They went to the Pac-12, and the other 3 went to the Big Ten.
Right, so.
No, Missouri went SEC.
Right, Missouri. I thought that A&M for a while was in the Big 12. No, I guess they weren't.
No, they left to the SEC with Missouri.
They went from, but weren't they in Big 12?
Oh yeah, no, they were in the Pac. Was it the
Southwest
that Big 8?
Well, yeah, part of that Big 8.
Right.
But anyway,
yeah, you're right. They were in the because it was the Big 12. Mm-hmm. It was the Big 12.
Yeah, we lost 4 teams.
Right.
And then we picked up a couple. We got West Virginia. And we picked up somebody else. I forget who.
I think West Virginia is it. West Virginia is the only one so far.
Yeah.
Because we were down to, 9.
Okay, then that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where, the whole shuffling and shifting and everything.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. I mean, and like you said, it's the money. It's the money.
This is the thing. That's why I say, we talked about it last week, that name, image, likeness, money that an athlete can get at a college, that's going to be worse than the effect of a independent TV deal like the Longhorn Network. Because look what it did, just the OSU bowl game. When your starter of 4 years decides, I'm going into the transfer portal. Yeah, the transfer portal is another thing. But now you got transfer portal on steroids because they can guarantee them name, image, likeness money.
Right.
It's bribery.
No, sure it is. And what's funny is, it's been 20 years ago or so, maybe, actually more than that, probably about 25 years ago. I don't know if I told that story on here or not, or to you. Did I ever tell the story about Tim Gill?
Oh, we talked about it a couple times.
Okay. And I go back to that I wrote the article or the editorial to the Tulsa World. To their credit, they printed it.
Yeah.
About how the local Tulsa media savaged Tim Gill
And Rocky.
For wanting to leave ORU to go to Arkansas and Southern Illinois to play their last year of basketball to better themselves because they didn't feel they were being properly treated and they felt something wasn't right there at Oral Roberts. I'll just summarize. And so Channel 2, 6, 8, and 23 all jumped on them, the Tulsa World, everyone called them traitors, ungrateful, et cetera, to the point where Nolan Richardson, where Tim was going to play Arkansas, and Nolan Richardson said, guys, you need to just go ahead and recant and go back and play your last year at ORU because the media is just going to destroy you. They did it 2 weeks later. 2 weeks afterwards, Bill Self signs a deal to go from Oral Roberts to TU. And the same media that had attacked these kids for wanting to leave just celebrated and championed the fact of the coach leaving. Oral Roberts got $1 or $2 million out of the deal to buy out the contract. Bill Self got a big multi-million-dollar contract to go to TU. We know where he is now at Kansas. So I don't begrudge Bill Self because he has done well. He's won several national championships. He's got a national championship program at KU. He's helped many young men at KU. So I have no problem with that. But in my editorial, I wrote this, and the name of the editorial was The Student Athlete, the Last of the Slave Class in America. They printed it.
Yeah, good.
I prophesied.
Yeah.
I predicted that the day would come when they would rue what they're doing, allowing coaches to do this and holding the kids hostage, because the day is coming when the players will be in a position to negotiate their own contract. And when that day comes, I will not feel sorry for the schools or coaches, and don't cry to me. And I said, I will not like it. I don't think it's right. I still don't think it's right, but it's coming, and I don't want to hear any whining.
Right. When you look at the billions of dollars that universities get for doing sports, and they promote it because it's a moneymaker, and then they're just whining about these athletes who won't play for free. Unlike you, I will fault Bill Self on one thing: the hypocrisy of making Tim and Rocky grovel.
That's true, because he did not, right.
Right.
He came out against them for wanting to leave. That's true.
But
and then that is true. On that count.
Here's where the media, the reason why they complained and trashed Rocky and Tim, but praised Bill Self. If Self was leaving ORU to go to Arkansas, no, let's say, Southern Miss, they would probably be trashing him. Is because we weren't losing him as one of our teams.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
If Tim Gill would have left to go play at TU
or OU.
Huh?
Or OU.
Or OU.
Yeah.
It's all about, is he still one of our slaves on one of our plantations? How's that?
Good one.
There you go.
Good one. All right. I did not see that. You got me. That's a good one there.
Thank you very much.
Another one of our plantations. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. A bigger plantation of our plantations. Whoa, Dave. Woo. I had not considered that, but that is true. That is true. Yeah.
If you like that, wait another 10 years. I'll come up with another one. All right.
Oh man. But yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
That is very true. It's kind of a sad commentary on the way, it's the
media that I'm faulting the most.
We need to get our friend, from the world,
Randy.
We need to remember this and bring when we get Randy.
You know who I'd like to get in, and I think he would, is Barry Lewis.
You think so?
When I was running media relations for the NOAA sports program, Barry was great. He wrote a huge article on my son's missionary work with YWAM between his senior year.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves to, Barry's a great guy.
Well, that would be good to get his take on that kind of thing, especially with the NIL and everything that's going on with the shifting. But yeah, no, Randy also, I mean, because yeah, that's, so no, I get your point though. That is true that our Oklahoma media is very Oklahoma centric.
Yeah.
So, and moving up the ladder, had he gone to OU or OSU, it wouldn't have been as big a deal, or TU, it wouldn't have been as big a deal.
Yeah, because
him
remember,
going to another.
When Bill
Arkansas, the arch enemy. Yeah.
When Bill left TU to go to Illinois.
Oh, that's right. He
went to Illinois.
That's right. He did.
They weren't celebrating that
move. That's true. I remember now. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Huh. But anyway, yeah, he's done well, and I've seen him a few times when my son was the assistant athletic director up there at Kansas. And
no, Bill Self is a pro.
He's doing well. I mean, I like Bill, and I used to be friends and the insurance agent for Billy Gillespie, who was his assistant and had his own issues.
Eddie Sutton really was the mentor of Bill Self.
Yeah.
There at Oklahoma State. Although, didn't Bill actually play at Kansas? I think he played at Kansas.
He might have.
And then became a coach at Oklahoma State, really under Eddie. And when ORU was coming out of the NAIA, because remember, they got caught red-handed and they were going to, get all kinds of sanctions. So they left the NCAA, went to NAIA, and brought Ken Trickey back from years ago. Yeah. And then, all of a sudden they bring in Bill Self because they're trying to come on back. This is a way to suffer the penalty without actually being...
Suffering the penalty.
Yeah, for their corruption.
Yeah.
And I think it's classic ORU Roberts family of, we got to protect the ministry. Although, as if Jesus' ministry needs protecting. It's more the reputation of their corporation.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't want to, we don't want to step in that today.
Yeah.
That's for another episode. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on. A couple of things. Here's the thing I found. Some of you may have heard this, that in Virginia, a town called Rich Neck, Virginia, a 6-year-old goes to school and shoots their teacher, a female teacher, a 6-year-old. We don't know if it's male, female, student, or anything, but a 6-year-old student, elementary school student, shot their teacher. The teacher apparently is not dead. It was not killed. The student was arrested. The parents need to be arrested if they weren't. But, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this. I hope. But, it's a tragic state. And of course, this will only add fuel to the fire of the gun debate. But, of course, if it's a black family, then of course, we'll hear about the sociological issues affecting the black family and this poor black child growing up in a certain neighborhood and under certain conditions, and why we need to have pity and mercy on this poor child, and so forth and so on. So anyway,
well,
it's
Tulsa has our own kids killing kids thing.
The nation has kids killing kids, their own thing, and the issue is not the gun violence. The issue is bad parenting and the sociological issues surrounding and what is creating the bad parenting in general. There are so many factors that are leading to the bad parenting, which again, we're not going to get into today because we could be here till 5 o'clock this evening.
But I can't let you just hit and run on this. I'm going to push back a little here. The bad parent. I'm talking about what happened 2 nights ago, about a mile from my house, where a 12-year-old girl stabs and kills her younger brother, 9-year-old brother.
Right. And then goes
in. Everybody had gone to bed. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. I can't therefore say it must be bad parenting yet. I don't have it could be.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
Did you ever get mad at them?
Oh God, yeah, it was horrible.
Did you ever stab them? Did you ever shoot them? Were there guns in your home?
No, there were knives.
There were knives.
In fact, I stole my brother's knife and stabbed myself in an accident when I was 5. Yeah.
That's more like it.
Yeah.
See, I lived in my uncle's house. Mm-hmm. I had a cousin who continually got on my nerves and made me angry. My uncle was a police officer, Philadelphia police officer. He routinely left his snub-nosed .38 and a .357 Magnum at home in the drawer, in the china cabinet in the dining room, along with handcuffs, billy club, blackjack. Yeah. I mean, he had an entire police arsenal in the china cabinet. And my cousin and I was the one who would go in there and get these out and play cops. And I would have this .357 and give my cousin the snub-nosed .38. And I would handcuff my cousin, and I figured out how to pick. I knew how to pick oh yeah.
You're talking about bad parenting.
Well, no, but no, here's the deal.
I know.
Okay. I knew that you do not point a loaded gun. I always made sure there were no bullets in the guns.
Right.
And my uncle was smart enough not to leave it loaded. Okay.
Right.
And we lived in the middle of the hood.
Yes.
In West Oak Lane, Philadelphia, Germantown, where crime was high. People were being, you can't even go there today.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, and what I'm trying to get at is I never shot my cousin.
Right.
I did not even shoot the deputy.
Yeah.
And my cousin never shot me. I never cut him. I never beat him. Okay.
Yeah.
I may have taunted him to the point of tears. Yeah. But anyway, it was just, so something is not right when a sister stabs her brother to death.
Yeah.
When a 6-year-old shoots their teacher.
No, I agree. Something's not right. But
Right.
to say bad parenting, I need to remind you, a few months ago, a 21-year-old girl stabbed her dad, who happens to be our district attorney, Steve Kunzweiler. Is he a bad dad because he got stabbed?
Very possibly.
It is. We don't know.
We don't know.
And that's what I want to say. I don't think it's wise to blanket suggest this is bad parenting. It very well is in many cases. I agree with you there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I was trying to get at is my kids, I never worried about them wanting to stab me, shoot me, beat me.
Yeah.
I never, I never wanted, my dad used to whip me, the old school.
Oh yeah, I got the belt.
Whippings. Yeah. And, I never thought about retaliating against him.
Right.
My mom, any of that. Teachers,
Yeah.
So somewhere in there,
I agree with you. Yeah.
the wrong message was transmitted.
Yeah.
Okay, the wrong message was transmitted.
Yeah, I mean, look at the boys out in Union Springs who slaughtered their whole family. You know, I think there's something going on with kids. I mean, look at, the Columbine situation. There's some people, they so lack empathy. There's a sociopathic issue that is impacted by our whole society. I'm going to borrow a phrase from Hillary that it takes a village, because so much of the role of raising up a kid, we're forced by law to delegate over to the state. That you're going to get locked up for truancy in many of these states if you don't put your kids in one of the state schools, or you got to prove that they're going to some prominent private school otherwise. This is
right. And if the kids play hooky, you get fined.
Yeah.
Which it makes no sense. It's not right. But you should not have to, it should never get to the point where your kids are so bad or unruly that they don't, that they're going to sneak around and not go to school.
Yeah.
There's something else going on there. That's what I'm saying, Dave. Yeah. There's something else going on. And I'm using your parents and you as an example, me and my parents. Okay.
Yeah. We were beat good as kids, right?
Well, yeah, we were beat good into goodness. Yeah. But never to the point, never abused.
No, I wouldn't call it.
We were, as the Bible says, spoil the rod, spare the rod, spoil the child. Mm-hmm. In other words, you don't spare the rod when it's used in the proper context.
Absolutely.
Okay? I'll give an example. Okay. Youth with a Mission had the first international base was in Lausanne, Switzerland. Mm-hmm. They had a hotel. They somehow got this big, beautiful hotel in Lausanne. And so the problem with the hotel was the doors out were about 100 feet from a heavy thoroughfare. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the kids, the only place they had to play was out in the driveway. Mm-hmm. So a 3-year-old, 4-year-old doesn't understand the concept of you're going to die, maybe necessarily. So what they did, they painted a big yellow stripe 15 feet from the thoroughfare there. Mm-hmm. And they told the kids, okay, if you cross that yellow line, you will get a spanking.
Yep.
Okay. Now the kid understood what spanking means. Okay. Mm-hmm. They may not understand you will die if you get hit by this car, right, but they understand what a spoon, a wooden spoon or a rod means on your behind.
Yeah.
And so, but in part of the teaching of discipline is as they get older, less of the rod, more of the speaking correction, different types, more intelligent correction takes place. Okay. Another example, for example, I never forbade my kids. I never told my kids what music to listen to, what movies, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. If a concert came, we would have talks about the music. Mm-hmm. We would have talks about the films, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. This is good. This is not. And we would ask them, is this good? Is it bad? Why is it good? Why is it bad? And so forth. As they get older, you just have to talk them through it and work it out. Now, it's no guarantee. I had the black sheep. Mm-hmm. Most people have a black sheep, and you have to deal a little differently with them.
Sure.
And so the punishment is a little different. I had to throw this black sheep out of the house for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And at 2 weeks, he called tearfully wanting to come back home. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, but you can go to this little Mennonite college 50 miles from nowhere in Kansas, or you can go back where you were and start your new life on your own. And he chose to go to the Mennonite college 50 miles from nowhere for a year. and suffered through it. And it was so bad when I got there. I've seen prisons better.
I know it.
The kid, and when I got there, I had to turn around so he didn't see my face grimacing, saying I could not live here. But anyway, he did it, and it wasn't the end. He still had this in him, but through it all, God was able to save this child.
Sure.
And, but anyway, I'm not trying to brag or lift myself up. I'm just saying there are different things you just have to be open to God showing you what's going to work with.
Yeah, every kid is different, and you got to fine tune your parenting to every kid.
But when your kid is to the point where they're going to stab and kill their sibling, or they're going to want to stab and kill you, then you have got some issues. It's usually almost 99.9999%, it comes back to you. You cannot convince me that something was not wrong in that household.
I want to say how Will Rogers talked about that concept of the yellow line in Switzerland. He says some learn by reading. Still others have to observe in order to learn. And then there's that one who's got to pee on the electric fence for himself. So, there you go.
The wisdom of Will Rogers.
Will Rogers. Yep.
Hey, let's go on. I want to, before we get on to our final time, I want to talk about El Paso.
Okay.
The immigration thing.
Yeah.
Most of you have heard, if you've been watching Newsmax, Fox, just the thousands and thousands of illegal migrants coming across the border. El Paso, the Rio Grande is right there on the river. In fact, it's funny because they have the Sun Bowl. Did you hear
Right. We talked a little about it.
In fact, I might have played the clip where the guy was watching.
Yes.
And saying, right here amongst all of the illegals. And, you can see them from the stadium. You can see, look right into Mexico because it's right there, the Rio Grande. It's only like 2 feet deep, probably around this time of the year. But anyway, there are just thousands and thousands of them, and they're all over the streets. Well, Joe Biden is going to El Paso tomorrow.
Oh, Brandon's going to El Paso.
Going to El Paso. Yeah. But, so now, in advance of his going, what they've done, they've got the Border Patrol and the Border and Immigration, they're cleaning it up. They're driving all the people. They're taking the ones that are here and they're shipping them different places.
Of course they
And, of course, they're sealing off the border.
There's no problem here.
No, right. So that when he shows up tomorrow, it will be the beautiful Sun City once again. And there's, those things you've been hearing about, lies again.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just Fox News, Newsmax, all the right-wing media lying to you again. So this is what we're dealing with today, people, that we have a media that is complicit in deceiving the people of America. And sadly, you've probably got 30% of America that is going along with the deception, and then probably another 20% that is wanting to be deceived with them, and then another probably 20% or so that is saying, I'm open to you deceiving me. So we're not in the best of shape, people. Yeah. So just we got to continue to pray, stay vigilant, and hopefully the new Congress can get some things done to get our nation back on the right track.
I want to say there are some realities. I think you touched on something that's a really important point. Some realities, people just, what's that term, cognitive dissonance? They just cannot bring themselves to accept certain realities. I think Carrie Lake has uncovered something in Arizona with the election. And I'm thinking here, you know what? Governments, people in the courts, whatever, I don't think they ever wanted to believe that an election could be stolen. And if you look at our statutes, you look at our constitutions, our states or federal, and that they are very inept at giving proper adjudications to how to remedy these things.
Yeah, even the Supreme Court. Yeah. It's like they're afraid to judge rightly in certain cases, because to do so opens the door to some very difficult choices.
Yeah.
In other words, if we find there was election fraud, we've already basically made this guy president for 2 years, and now we find that he shouldn't be president.
Yeah.
And you've got all these people over here. What do we do now?
Yeah.
And they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like Pontius Pilate. We're going to wash our hands of it and just wash it down. You guys take care of it legislatively somehow.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be able to take care of it. But it doesn't get taken care of, because now the guy who's president and has control of the wheels of power, they're putting things in motion to entrench themselves so that you can't undo things for the future.
Yeah.
The Justice Department, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA.
There is a different code of justice for governmental agencies than for the subjects that have to live under them. Right. And a good case in point here, right here in Oklahoma, public schools, like Tulsa Public Schools, is missing bukus of money, right? We had a school board member here a few months ago, Lena Ashley, who talked about, we got to find out, is any ineptness going to be subject to criminal prosecution? No, they only do that for private sector charter schools like Epic. Epic is getting one kind of criminal justice, right, whereas government agencies, when they fail, such as we found out from the audit of the elections 2 years ago in Arizona, where the election board just wiped out all the history of past logins. You don't do that accidentally. That happened deliberately. These are the kinds of things that there is no criminal statute for that kind of thing. And I think our government, our legislatures don't want to believe that this could happen. And it will happen until you put teeth in it, until people go to jail for it.
No, I agree.
But they don't have any laws that actually spell that out.
Yeah.
It's a bad deal.
No, I agree. I agree.
And well, here's the other thing. Katie Hobbs, she's running the election where she is the top of the ticket.
Yeah, she should have been forced to recuse herself.
Yes.
There's no way you can have her be Secretary of State in charge of an election that she is running for governor of. I mean, that just doesn't work.
But see, I don't think most state governments could fathom this kind of potential corruption. So they didn't make
I think they did. I think they could see it, but I think they underestimated the corruption of future legislatures. Yeah, that they wouldn't self-correct it.
Well, I'm not so much talking about legislators getting caught. It's agencies.
Well, maybe that's the other thing. Maybe they did not foresee everything being turned over to agency. In other words, that legislators would turn over as much responsibility to these agencies as they have. There was a TV show on Fox for a while. I think it lasted one season. It was about Ichabod Crane. I don't know if you ever. It only lasted one season. I only saw a couple of episodes, but Ichabod Crane was the headless hunter. And what was the guy that? Ichabod Crane was the guy.
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow. Yeah.
Sleepy Hollow. That was the name. It was Sleepy Hollow. And Ichabod Crane was actually the hero in the story, right? Yeah, okay. So Ichabod Crane, he had been asleep for like 150 years or something, 200 years. And he came back, and then the headless horseman, So, but anyway, he woke up and he could not believe what laws we had passed and what like when they talked about the taxes on things, he just kept ranting about, my God, what? You know, like taxes on food.
Yeah.
You know, and he was talking about, you know, the Boston Tea Party, what the Boston Tea Party rebelled against, what it was against, and now the taxes are so much worse than that. And but it made so much sense. That's probably why the show was canceled.
Yeah, it made too much sense.
Because it really showed the contrast of what the revolution began
I agree.
from and what we're tolerating now.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So, you know what? I think this is a perfect segue to our final topic.
Is there anything else happened this week?
Well, we finally have a functioning House of Representatives.
A much better new and improved, from what I understand.
Hopefully. We can only hope.
It turned out as good as I could have reasonably expected.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people may not agree with you and I. A lot of people, to them, victory only meant that Kevin McCarthy was not elected. Mm-hmm. But to me, it was a foregone conclusion that Kevin McCarthy would be the next speaker.
Yeah.
One thing, this was a real civics lesson for us all.
It was incredible.
That how the cheese is made and the power of the speaker, which we never knew prior to this.
Yeah.
Why the speaker is such an important role.
Yeah.
And how much power that one position has usurped.
Yeah. Can I set it up just very briefly?
Please,
so
let us know right there.
On Tuesday, remember, it's a holiday on Monday, right? Because New Year's was on a Sunday, so everybody shut down on Monday. So they're supposed to come in, have a quick vote, oath of office, and by 1:00 on Tuesday, they're done. Except it didn't happen that way. Except they had a vote, and about 20 people on the Republican side didn't want to rubber stamp McCarthy, you know, and it continued in this morning, DC time, you know, it finally got done on the 15th ballot. So I'll let you go from there. Yeah.
So, anyway, the 15th ballot took him 15 tries to finally elect, Kevin, McCarthy, and, the holdouts, I think were there 5? I think in the end there were 5 left.
And those were the same 5 who early on said, we're never going to vote for McCarthy.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
They just basically passed.
Yeah. They voted present. Which, according to Robert's rules, because the House rules aren't adopted yet.
Right.
It defaults to Robert's Rules of Order, which says, to say I'm present is another way of saying I'm here, but I'm not voting.
Right. Now, here's what's interesting, okay? If everyone votes, they would have to have 218 vote for to actually pass a person. With these 5 voting present, it dropped it to 2014. 16.
Yeah.
Why is that? Explain that to us.
First of all, you have to get a majority of the votes cast. And voting present is not a vote.
It's like not a vote cast. So of the votes cast, and they did have the quorum to count the minimum number of votes.
Yeah.
So of the number of countable votes, they got the majority number.
And, you know, it was supposed to happen the round before, but, fella, I forget his name, Western State, voted for either Kevin Hern of Tulsa right here or Jordan. Hern. He voted for Hern. Hern's name, by the way, really, he got stature. He is big.
He ended up with seven votes in the end.
Yeah. And, you know, Lauren Boebert put his name in nomination right away. Josh Brecheen from over here in eastern Oklahoma voted for him right away. And then they brought more and more on to the point where the rebel base, who was for Donald's, a black guy out of Florida.
Who voted for himself.
Yes, yeah. Eventually he dropped out and, because they got what they wanted.
Right.
They got concessions out of the leadership. And it was a long, arduous thing. It really was in day 2 that all of a sudden Hern's name pops up. Now, Steve Bannon had been saying early on that they ought to put Kevin Hern up as a consensus candidate. And eventually Lauren Boebert did. For a little while there, Matt Gaetz threw up Donald Trump's name. You notice nobody wanted that. These politicians, they may buddy up to Trump, but I don't think they want to be held hostage to Trump's agenda. Yeah.
Which is interesting because at one time they were all wanted to be Trump people.
Yeah.
And now they're all like rats on a ship.
They love power.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I've got something they call the Lincoln test. Abe Lincoln is credited for saying anybody can handle some adversity. If you want to find out the character of someone, give them power.
Yeah.
That's where you find out their character.
I've never seen a more comparative situation or study than you have between Donald Trump and Teddy Roosevelt. If you look back, Roosevelt won it in 1900, and then he was out in 04.
Yeah.
And then he tried to run again in, 08?
Well, he chose not to run again, and Taft is vice president.
Right. Then he ran as an independent.
The Bull Moose Party,
Right.
because Taft had locked up the Republican machine.
Right. And so it might end up with Trump and may end up having to run. We'll see. But it's kind of because you see as it gets closer and closer, there's more and more of an anti-Trump sentiment building. And it's to me, it's misguided because somehow in their minds, the Republicans are the most wishy-washy, easily pliable people that I've ever seen. They somehow in their minds think that all we have to do is get rid of Trump and our problems are over.
Yeah.
So Ron DeSantis seems to be the flavor of the day. But as soon as DeSantis should be the guy, the name, he will become Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
And if they can't see that, that shows how stupid they truly are. I mean, how they don't see that, I don't understand. Your rhino Republicans. What is the name of this one group? The Lincoln Project.
Yeah.
Speak of that.
Yeah.
The Lincoln Project. They will be no happier with a DeSantis. They will be no happier with a number of the people than they are with Donald Trump.
I agree.
They will turn them into Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And you'll be right back where you started again. And not only that, you will have the 30% of diehard Trump fans, supporters. Okay. You will have those who are basically like the diehards, the 5 that didn't vote with the majority in the congressional vote election we just had. You will have those who are going to sit it out, so we're not voting. Then you will have these other people trying to fight over who they want. You basically, and then the Democrats will sit there and say, "Oh, thank you," and they'll run whoever they want, and you'll have another Democrat president. I mean, this is how it is. So, to me, those Republicans who think that we can get rid of Trump and our problems are over, they're just fooling themselves.
Yeah.
How they don't see this is idiotic to me.
You know, I called my friend Jameson Fott. He has the Muskogee Politico. this week, because I broke the story about Hern getting nominated and stuff, and he had some thoughts. I was really impressed with Josh Brecheen showing the kind of independence, but I had to reach out to Jameson, whose father ran for that House seat. And I said, all of a sudden, this issue of the speaker's PAC money going into primaries. And I said, I called Jameson. I said, did Avery Fricks get a bunch of money from McCarthy? And he says, I don't think directly. I said, I think it got laundered. But that's the thing that got Brecheen so worked up, is this outside money thing. And then I'm going to also say Jim Inhofe said something very wise back in the 80s, and I wish he would live by it in his final days. He said, you can't spend your weekend in Washington and keep your conservative core. You'll get consumed by it if you live there. And I think that's part of the problem for a guy like McCarthy, who has to fly all the way out to Bakersfield or live there. You look at somebody, in fact, Fott and I were talking about the tradition that goes back to Steve Largent and Tom Coburn in 94, because they revolted against Gingrich, because Gingrich wasn't playing true to his word. He was being hypocritical. And, you know, I just remember, in fact, we were recounting that time where they had to revolt, and one of their top allies in the House, freshman, was Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough at one time used to be rock solid on the right. But he lived in Washington, left Florida, and now he's consumed by the swamp.
That's right. Well, you remember J.C. Watts?
Yeah.
Started out talking about that you go to Washington thinking that it's a cesspool. Yeah. You're going to clean the cesspool, and then it ends up being a jacuzzi.
Yeah. You know? Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah. But it does happen. I worry about my dear friend and our new senator, Mark Wayne Mullen. You know, how much time he's spending there. Is he moving there and living there? You know, and
Mullen's one that I think moved the other way. He got consumed real quick. He and McCarthy came in about the same time. And they both kissed up to John Boehner. And both, you know, rode Boehner's coattails. So all of a sudden, and he was Inhofe's darling. He was, and all of a sudden he had this falling out with Inhofe. Boehner left, and Mark Wayne became more independent.
Right.
And I think he became a better representative.
No, I agree, but it still concerns me.
It does.
That, you know, I'm want to be careful and hope he's being careful to not start taking on the character of D.C. Now, what he told us when he was here last time, and hopefully we'll get him back here again once he's actually, you know, now that he's actually officially a senator, that he stays true to those Oklahoma values and all of the things that he set out to do and said he would do. But I do want to say one thing about Kevin Hern. And they had him on Fox and Friends this morning.
Oh, good.
And here's basically what he said. And this is really good. Speaking about the finally coming to a decision last night.
Hern.
Congressman Kevin Hern joins us now with his reaction. Congressman, great to have you on the program. Despite being nominated there and supported on several rounds of voting, you did vote for Speaker McCarthy in all 15 rounds of voting. Tell me, as you saw this process play out and you saw some of these concessions that were made in the negotiations, how do you feel about Speaker McCarthy's ability to bring the Republican constituency together moving forward?
Well, thanks for having me. The real winner in this was the American people. You all have reported on this for the last 4 years and before that even, that the American people are tired of a dysfunctional Congress where we're spending money that's out of control, that's just devastating our future, our generations for our kids and grandkids. And then what we've seen with the wokeism that's gone on, and what you've seen over this last 4 days is really just a resetting of where Congress should have been at a long time ago. having negotiated a lot of deals in my lifetime in 35 years of business on a very large scale, this is what you see happen in negotiations. And everybody was involved in this. Speaker Pelosi caused this, but what the damage is she's done to Congress over the last 4 years. And now we have Speaker McCarthy, who has worked hard over the last 4 days, I would argue for the last 4 months, to get us to this point. And I felt until he couldn't move these negotiations forward, I would continue to vote for him. And when that didn't happen, then we'd all have to look at a different direction.
Do you worry, Congressman, when it comes to policy, when it comes to making law, that Republicans will run into similar difficulty in getting everybody on the same page? It'll continue to have holdouts, be it the Freedom Caucus or whatever it may be, that put him in a position of having trouble getting to a majority.
Well, certainly it's going to be hard work, and he certainly understands that. He understands the rules, meaning Speaker McCarthy understands the rules that's been negotiated and what he has to live under. Using his words, he said, "I'm not afraid," and we'll take him at his word for that, and we'll all work together. As the chairman myself of the Republican Study Committee, which is all about policy, some 170 of the 222 members, so a very large swath, from the farthest right to more moderate Republicans, we're going to work alongside to help him push for the most conservative outcome of every bill that's put forward. One of the big issues in this negotiation was around spending. We're out of control in our spending. And the second part of this was empowering the members of Congress so that the voice of the members could be heard when they came to Congress. And that's what we needed to work on, and we got that done. You may have just begun to answer that question for me, but I did want to, on the list of concessions, which I believe we still have, we can put them up on the screen here, that were part of this negotiation. Would you mind telling me, what do you think on that list? What do you think is the biggest victory? What worries you the most, perhaps, as well, on that list of concessions? Well, I think probably just because I spent the last 2 years writing the only 2 budgets that have been done in Congress in my 4 years here, and so I've seen this at the very detailed level of the largest budgets in the world. And so getting to the balanced budget, of which the RAC put out one last year that I chaired for 6 years. This year was about 7 years. And so actually doing that, I think that's exciting for the American people. Everybody in America has to balance their budgets. The one I think is going to be the most challenging for us because of the small margins is making sure we pass all the 12 appropriation bills so that we can send to the Senate and hold them accountable for making America more fiscally responsible for the American taxpayer dollars. Hey, Congressman, I really appreciate you answering that question directly. I asked you for both your biggest concern and your biggest excitement on that list, and you didn't dodge either of them. That right there is a refreshing start to the 118th Congress. So I appreciate you being on the show this morning. Thank you, Congressman Kevin Hern. Thanks, Will.
Well, there you go.
That was a great clip. I appreciate you coming up with that.
Yeah.
Hern, I got to have breakfast with him when he was campaigning the first time, and we're sitting at McDonald's. First, I had to find out, what's the secret? Why can nobody else make an Egg McMuffin, And of course, Hern made his fortune flipping burgers. He rose up from the crew at McDonald's to eventually managing and owning McDonald's, and then several, close to 24. But, this is particularly tough for Kevin Hern because he lost his mother this week. Hern really opened up with me because he knew I was a mental health advocate, and he talked about his growing up days, losing his father, and then his mother marrying again to a very abusive stepdad. Mm-hmm. And his love for his mother as his true, real parent. Hern had to go through all of this week, and he was supposed to have the funeral today. I don't know if they postponed it or not. But, so Kevin Hern, he handled all of it this week with poise and dignity. And,
well, that's interesting because this was just this morning.
Yeah.
This is just, so if the funeral was today, then that's
I had heard the funeral was scheduled for today. Yeah. I don't know. And,
that's amazing. If it is, then he gave this interview this morning. So.
But yeah, it is true. He did lose his mother this week.
I believe it.
And that was part of the reason too. Last night they were going to have that vote and they were going to be done at the 14th vote. And then McCarthy did his negotiating right out there on the floor with Boebert and Biggs and Gates.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing watching. I, like you, stayed up till the end until they.
We have no life, Eddie.
Yeah, my wife went to bed and said, "I'm done. You watch this," and so I'm laying there in bed watching this thing, and she's asleep. I'm night owl watching this thing, but no, it's it was interesting. We really learned. I mean, it was great. If I were a civics teacher, I'd have tried to get all my teachers, the teachers for sure, but the kids to watch this, see how the stew is made or whatever, because man, it was something. But what was really funny is watching all the running around and, when they took the pink slips or the red slips and turned them in to extend the vote.
Yep.
Because the announcers were trying to figure out, well, what is that? What are they turning in? Those red slips and blue slips. It was to basically
switch their vote.
Right, to switch the vote and extend the vote. They rescinded, and because you saw the number first, and then it started going backwards. Yeah.
And in fact, what happened, because I was watching on the C-SPAN website, is McCarthy had gone back up there while they were doing the vote to adjourn, and they were losing the vote. It was, and McCarthy wanted to adjourn. But then while he's back there talking to Biggs, Boebert, Gates, and, all these guys, and they did say, okay, we will all vote present, evidently. McCarthy runs to the front. He's trying to get by, He's trying to get as many people to switch their vote.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you see Gates and them running through up there with their little pink slip.
Yeah.
And,
because to these people who said, I can never support him, they can stay true to their word, but yet they've got their deal. And I think by not voting, they voted.
And who's the one who never, I guess he was gone or something, he never responded. There was one, the sixth vote, he never responded. I forget, was it McCall or I forget. There was one that they never did get a vote for.
Yeah.
Period.
And there is one vacancy. So we have 434 actual, congressmen-elect. But yeah, Buck, Colorado, had health issues, but they got him back in late last night.
But there was one they called the name of there were 6.
Yeah.
And there was one that they kept calling he never.
Okay,
never
yeah,
responded.
and by not responding, it's the same as voting present.
Right, but they never put a number up there for him at all.
Yeah.
They just said it's like a no vote. So.
Yeah, no vote. He's in.
But yeah, it was interesting stuff, and it'll be interesting. Now it's time to go to work, though.
Yeah, and here's where I want to go.
Get rid of those IRS agents. Primary.
I'm sorry, but you know what? To change next year's spending and appropriations, you're going to have to get the Senate to go along and then get Biden to sign it. And you're not going to get an override vote on this. So
yeah, the only thing is that what the way they can do it though is essentially they say, okay, you'll get it for this year. In other words, they can get it for now. But as soon as it comes up for the next budget, it's cut off. Then you're going to have to fire all those people. So what do you want to do? Hire these people for 1 year or now? Or do you want to negotiate now and we do something else with that money?
Yeah. And now you see why Pelosi passed next year's spending last week. She basically handcuffed this Congress by spending it last year. Mm-hmm. Here's where I want to go next. We just saw what a few holdouts can do in a very narrowly divided Congress. On Monday, we're going to get a rules report, which is being written right now because McCarthy had to agree to certain things, right? The chair of the Rules Committee is going to be Oklahoma's Tom Cole. He's been the ranking member. Tom Cole, Jim Bridenstine told me years ago, he says, he's Darth Vader. That's actually his nickname. He can be nasty. In fact, I was helping Bridenstine put up a primary candidate against him. And Bridenstine said, you can't tell anybody, you know. So I go there over the weekend, and by Monday, Cole's people read our lunch. They said, Bridenstine's behind all this, and everything they're saying is true. And these people are good. Tom Cole, before he got into government, he ran the top conservative campaign consulting company. Okay. But here's where I'm going with this. What happens if Tom Cole and a half a dozen others don't agree with all of these rules that McCarthy had just committed to? What happens? This could all be for nothing.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
You see, by not having that vote on the rules last night, you know, this is a problem, because even the rule change to motion to vacate, if there's no rules, you can't operate. You can't operate. They can't even get a paycheck next week until we get the rules. I mean, it's a difficult thing. We're in Hampton. John Wright, our county assessor, is been a mentor of mine on parliamentary procedure. And he said, until you get credentials and everybody agreeing on, because remember, all you've got is a mob.
Okay, but let me ask you this then. Okay, so if he's chairman of the Rules Committee, then why is he only able to handcuff anything that Republicans want to do and not the things Democrats want to do?
Oh, no, it's, you know, whoever's chairman of the committee.
Right.
Now, it was a Democrat was chair. He was a ranking member.
Right.
But when they were impeaching Trump, the Rules Committee negotiations were televised, and Cole was a master fighting for Trump on that. Right. Cole has done some great things.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, so, so what is to keep Cole from torpedoing some of these Biden and the
right? No, he will. Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi things.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the interesting thing of it, and I want to segue when we're done with this to another point.
And one last thing I want to say too is it's interesting though how important several of our Oklahoma delegation are.
Oh yeah.
You know, you've got now Kevin Hern.
Yeah.
And his committees, and then Tom Cole, as you're letting us know. You know, I mean, this is pretty
right.
astounding.
And you know, and Tom Cole's been there for the longest time.
Oh, I know. I met him way back in the late '90s. There.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. In fact, his first government gig was as Secretary of State. He handled Keating's campaign for governor, and Keating had just become elected, and I was helping the Phil Gramm campaign. He was meeting with legislators at the state Republican convention, and I'm standing in the back, you know, and all of a sudden this guy said, "Oh, this guy knows how to run a campaign." You know, and I'm talking to him, and I said, "What is it?" Yeah. I said, "Oh, I haven't met you. I'm David." He said, "Hi, Tom Cole." I said, "So what do you do?" He's like, "Well, I'm Secretary of State of Oklahoma." But that's how long he's been in government. But he came out of the campaign. His mother was a pioneer of the Republican Party, Helen Cole. But anyway, Tom can be ruthless. He can be vindictive. He can be great. When you're on his side, he's a great guy to have. But I'm just saying, until we get the rules, we don't have a Congress. And if the rules aren't good, we could have a motion to vacate by these same six.
Right.
You know, so now here's the other thing. These six have spent a lot of kumbaya time with the Democrats. You notice, like yesterday I'm watching, Nancy Wasserman Schultz sitting next to Matt Gaetz, and they're yucking it up.
Well, and then I saw him with,
Sheila Jackson
Lee.
Oh yeah, and she's loving, you know, because they're on the same side on this issue. Here's where I wanted to get to this point, and this would be a good time to do it. You remember in the movie, Remember the Titans? Mm-hmm. The first thing the new coach had to do with this forced segregation team is he got them all on a bus and they went out to some camp away from everybody, and they're all there, and this is team building. This is us working out our issues. You just got to see Congress go to camp and work on team building, communication skills. They all had to stay in the same sweaty, stinky hall for hours every day, kill a lot of time, but a wonderful opportunity to talk. Yeah. And I think this is very good on just a personal level. Yeah. I think these people all went to retreat.
Yeah, it seems like it. But what's interesting is that they were all coming to Gates. It wasn't like Gates going over to them. They were coming to kiss the ring. Yeah. Or something, you know. They were probably trying to test him out, check him out, you know, what's he made of or whatever.
Well, the Democrats couldn't do anything without this faction.
Right.
It's just like when we were fighting the tax increase of Mary Fallin here in the state, the the Platform Caucus people became buddies with the Democrats because the Democrats didn't want that tax increase. Now, why? Because of who's going to get hit with the taxes. Right. You know, it's all about who's going to get taxed. Oh, by the way, I believe Kevin Hern is going to be on the Ways and Means Committee, which is the most powerful. Right. That's where you decide who gets taxed and how much. Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting. We got an interesting 2 years.
Yeah. Hern has far exceeded my expectations as a congressman, not just with where he stands, but how he stands. And the fact that, you know, these fire breathers like Lauren Boebert said, no, that's a man we can all support. Right. You know, he mentioned today, he says, look, I'm on the study group, 170 members. No, they're all Republican in that.
You know, the thing too, Lauren Boebert, I've got to say for her, a lot of people talk badly about her. Mm-hmm. She's not dumb. Mm-hmm. I think Lauren is a very intelligent young lady who is underestimated. Mm-hmm. For her to be one that recognizes Kevin Hern as a person with some gravitas and some future is pretty smart.
Yep.
So, in fact, that whole group of people, of the whole group, the one that I probably, which is strange, one that I don't give as much clout to as the others, one to me it's overestimated versus the others is Andy Biggs.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert.
Here's another. Chip Roy.
Wow. Right. See, those guys are, I think, underestimated people. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's her name? What's the one from Georgia? The blonde.
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah. People are always attacking her, going after her and all. She's not stupid. Okay. Do not underestimate her. Mm-hmm. Okay. Marjorie Taylor Greene. MTG. Mm-hmm. Do not underestimate her.
She's, you know what?
These women, I would take these women every day above most Democrat men.
Yeah. Marjorie, remember Nancy Pelosi stripped her of all committee assignments. Now, did McCarthy go to bat for her? I don't know. But here's the genius of what McCarthy did. I think McCarthy reached out to her and said, you know what, we're going to make up for what you missed on committee assignments. And for him, getting Marjorie on his team, and I do think, partly because I think she was looking out for the people she represents and wanted to make sure she got to be on committees. Is that self-serving? Perhaps, but if you're doing it for your constituents, that's what you're there for. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So that was smart by McCarthy to really build on that. My only hope, and I think I'm relieved of my concerns, is to see the staunch, true conservatives who aren't afraid to say that they didn't devour each other. That was good. You saw how Sean Hannity had a blow up with Lauren Boebert, and they both rectified it. Hannity, comes out looking, you can imagine all the bad emails he got, Josh.
I've seen it on Facebook and Twitter. Oh,
right.
My goodness. Yeah.
So the next night he gets Chip Roy on, and he's kissing up to Chip Roy. But then last night late, he had both Boebert and Gates on, and it was a kumbaya moment.
Yeah. Well, Sean realizes he's treading on thin ice.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean has lost his luster.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bloom is off of the rose, as Seal would say. But yeah, I haven't watched Sean Hannity in years.
Yeah.
He's just not, there's something there that's just not he's fallen into that Fox News. I don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. The only thing we watch on Fox News is Tucker.
Yep.
And then the rest of the day, all I watch is Fox Business.
Yeah.
Fox Business is the most conservative one, the only thing conservative on there. I watch it all morning. And,
I used to like Kennedy. She was a libertarian. Now I'm not so much a Kennedy fan.
Well, yeah, she's kind of crazy. I do have to say I do like Kennedy for the fact she really is a libertarian. She's truly independent. So you never know where she's going to be. Mm-hmm. But my favorites other than that are on Newsmax. I really like Rob Carson.
Yeah.
And then at night, what's his name?
Mike Kelly?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kelly's good. Really, I think they got a good line.
He is so funny, before his show, they always say, what is Greg going to say next? Because you never know. I mean, that's what I love about Greg Kelly, because you don't know. He just cracks you up, because he'll say stuff that you're thinking, and no normal host. That's probably why they moved him to late at night in that time slot, because it's not a slot for 6 o'clock news,
Right.
Because Greg will say, and you'll just laugh. You'll say, "What did he really just say? What I think he said?" So it's unfiltered news.
Yeah, it really Newsmax has really stepped up their lineup. I remember 3 years ago I started watching it, and it was hodgepodge, low budget. Rob Finnerty's done a great job bringing their morning news program, and so that's pretty good. Yep.
Well,
anyway,
you got anything else?
Well, coming up this week, we've got a lot of things in state government, the state of the state, inauguration. I guess you emceed an inauguration last night.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
The BOK Center was full.
Wow.
Banquet, and Governor Stitt was the toast of the evening, he and his wife, and he is serving now his second term.
Yeah.
And it was a good evening. Good evening. I'm looking forward to the second term, that he, I think, can get some things done.
In fact, Jameson Fott and I, Muskogee Politico, were talking about, I said, for my work in advocacy here on the state level, I think I've got to focus primarily on Ryan Walters taking on the education establishment. Yeah. That's going to be, to me, that's the battle that's going to happen here. We're not hurting for money. Even if we have a bad year, we've got enough tucked away. We'll be okay on that. I don't see any looming problems in our state government right now, except education, which is a disaster. So
yeah. Well, it may be a disaster, but I mean the good news for Ryan is it can pretty much only go one way up. Joy has not done a great job, so at least it gives Ryan something to work with.
Yeah, but there is a state board of education that is very powerful.
Yeah, see, this is a question I have then. Okay, so the Senate appoints so many members to the state board. The House, I think, does a few, and then the governor has something. So whose fault is it?
Well, actually, and I'm going to have to look at this before we get it too much further in, because one of the things, reforms that Stitt worked on right away when he became governor, is how boards are put together. And he made it a lot more political appointments than it used to be, especially in, my work in mental health. It was all different organizations, agencies, like the District Attorneys Association, and they all got to pick. The governor had almost no influence. That got changed. And when you say the House and Senate, specifically, it's the Senate pro temp and the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Individually.
Right.
So we'll see how that impacts things. I just remember Keating's first term. It was nasty on the education thing, and, Barisi. It was just butting heads with that Board of Education.
I know.
This is their sacred cow. It's their Alamo.
Yeah, but see, Barisi, she brought a lot of it on herself in that she was trying to follow Mary Fallon.
Yeah.
And who was trying to emulate Jeb Bush with Common Core. That was the big fault of Janet Barisi.
There's that. That's where they alienated conservatives.
Right.
But there were also other things alienating the left. And those things were happening at the same time.
Well, do you really think it's a problem alienating the left?
I'm just saying they're coming at you with everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you can expect that.
Particularly, they're coming after trying to embarrass you.
Sure.
Trying to discredit you.
Right, but the problem is, or shouldn't be a problem, but if you're doing your job, in other words, if what you're doing is working, then let the left come at you if you're getting the proper results. So, for example, in Florida, left's coming after DeSantis and his people, but it's not to no avail.
Right.
Virginia, to no avail. Okay. So it's because they're implementing the things they want to implement, the right things. And so the left is looking stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. South Dakota, I would imagine, is, with, what's her name up there? Kristi Noem.
Yep.
So that's the approach we need to take in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
We need to have the right people with the right policies, which I'm hoping and I think Ryan Walters will do. So if Ryan is true to the things that he said, he will start getting those things. And if he gets the right help, right people in place, and is able to stand up to those who aren't, then we should start seeing the same results here.
Yeah.
We've got to, for one thing, Tulsa School Board.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of the head of the we need to get a new superintendent.
I agree.
And it needs to happen soon, and we need to get somebody that is going to find somebody that really wants to see education change.
Right.
And the way to do it, honestly, my suggestion is, first of all, get the people in North Tulsa, because that's really right now where so much, North and East Tulsa, where everybody seems to be leaning. Okay. Because South Tulsa, well, basically forget South Tulsa. Okay. Really, Union and Jenks, those are their own independent school districts.
Right.
Okay. So basically you've got Tulsa School District.
Yeah, which stops at 71st Street, basically.
Right. And so essentially the only schools in our district, the one that's functioning probably the best would be Edison. And that's not even doing that as well as it used to. It used to be a really fine school.
Well, Booker T was always
but that doesn't count.
I know.
Because it's a magnet school.
Yeah, I know.
So, anybody can succeed.
But they're always going to make sure Booker T shine.
Yeah. But see, I would call that out in a minute. Anybody, when you got the best, academic students that have to apply to go there and then the best athletes in the state, then you're cheating.
And the funny thing is, athletics is not supposed to be a determiner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
somehow it is.
Yeah. But so North and East Tulsa are kind of the things that dictate these things. So if you get those people behind you and get the right, what I would, if it was me, I would focus on East Central, the feeders there, McLean, the feeders there, and Daniel Webster.
Yeah.
If you can get those schools to change, boom, and improve, okay, and start outperforming Edison and your others, okay, Memorial, that'll whip them into shape. We've got to do something then, now. It'll just start showing, right? Yeah. And everything will just funnel down. So that's what I would do. And of course you'll get the parents and those behind those areas to support you. Now, Webster shouldn't be that as big of a problem because there's a lot of money over there now with Tulsa Hills. Because Tulsa Hills, that supports that west side over there. That's Daniel Webster over there.
Jinx actually wraps around, goes all the way up to 61st Street on the west side. Right, but let me see. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. So Jinx is getting Tulsa Hills. Because as I recall, when what's his name put that into place, Medlock. Yeah, I thought it was. Well, I do know this. Elwood. I think it jumps. Yeah. See, on Elwood, going from 71st down to 81st, you got a Jinx Elementary School on the east side. Right. So that's Jinx School District. And like I said, I knew a Jinx football player's family that lived up 61st, really behind Paige Belcher Golf Course. Mm-hmm. Paige Belcher is in Jinx School District. So it's tight around there. Man, it's interesting how they're able to do that. That sucks. See, that whoever allowed that to happen should not have allowed to happen. Yeah, and that's a very important point that I think needs to be addressed, is resetting the lines of school districts, because there's certain things not going to happen residentially. Yeah. I think where my son built out Osage Hills, where the Gilcrease Expressway is going to be finished around there, all of that area, beautiful rolling oak hills. Right. Lovely. Got the expressway. Everything. It's all Tulsa School District. And the builders aren't going to invest it. How are you going to sell a house where you say, your kids will go to McLean? And so, you invest in getting McLean squared away. I mean, see, everything. You don't get McLean squared away without the whole thing, because that's the problem there. Well, but see, that's what I'm saying. You got to break up the school district. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But see, but another segment, ladies and gentlemen, because we'll be here forever if we do. I don't want to start another whole train of thought, but hold that thought. Yeah. Let's take a whole and we can bring in, what's her name? What's on the school board? Oh, Lena Ashley. Lena Ashley. Yeah. I agree. It's time for an update. Yeah, let's bring her and bring Ryan in. Oh, I'd love to have Ryan. We should do like a whole week or 2 weeks just on focusing on education. I think so. That would be really good. I do have an announcement. Okay, please. Here in the next few weeks, you're going to get information, I'll repeat it, about the Republican Precinct Caucus meetings. And I encourage all of you, if you care about government, you care about a party that represents your values, you got to get involved. And the only way to get involved, be a delegate, starts with your precinct, your neighborhood meetings, and they're historically been at the end of January. So I'll get that information. I'd just be watching for it, and I'll get with Rhonda Vilmont-Smith, our county chair, who is running for another term, which is kind of rare. Most people after 2 years, they're done. Because it's a thankless job and it pays nothing. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for another week. And if you want to get a hold of us, contact me and Dave at freshblackcoffee@gmail.com, freshblackcoffee@gmail.com.
gmail.com.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this, you obviously know
Yeah.
where to go.
Yeah.
And thank you again so much, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah.
God bless.
Be good.
Bye.
Looks like stormy weather forever, and they'll never see the light of day. Paul and Silas kept on singing, believing their deliverer was on the way. For they knew with God I'm protected. For they knew with God I'm set free. For they knew with God none shall harm me. With God. Looks like stormy weather forever, and you'll never see the light of day. 3 times that day Daniel knelt and prayed, oh, not afraid of the consequences he might face. And he cried with God, I'm protected. With God, I'm set free. With God, none shall harm me. With Believe the lie, so everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't wanna fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with 2 star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, we have been born again. Good day, good evening, and whatever time it is where you are, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Huff. This is David Van Risgum, and we are your host and co-host, and whatever host you want us to be on whatever day you want it to be, whatever day you're watching or listening to this program. This is Fresh Black Coffee to freshen your day, and we like to discuss the news of the day and week and whenever. And Dave, how are you today?
Good, and Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you again. Another new year. Actually, I guess last week was what? The New Year's Eve, correct?
Yeah,
it was new. That's right. On New Year's Eve. That's right.
Wrapped up 22, and now we're looking forward to 23.
You know, it's weird. This was a weird New Year's Eve. It was it really went out with a whimper. It wasn't any, at my house, all of a sudden I heard some fireworks at night, and I was trying to say, what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? It just seemed really odd and awkward. So
We're old farts now. That's what it is.
speak for yourself, you old gas passer. That's another way of saying it.
The living room sound.
Oh,
What
man.
is that going on outside?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Wow. 2023, 2023. A new year, new hopes, new dreams. And we have a lot to talk about, particularly politically coming up later. But to wrap up some of last year, things that happened, sports-wise, the bowl season is almost over, not quite.
One game.
I guess one game left, huh? And that is the national championship, which is somewhat, there's one big surprise, and that big surprise is the Big 12. Is that TCU ended up beating Michigan, which was everybody's surprise. It's interesting, though, because in the Texas Tech Mississippi game, the announcer actually picked TCU to beat Michigan, and the co-announcer, the color